So I think we can all agree that 2023 has actually been kind of an amazing year for gaming. Sure, there's been a couple of dud releases here and there, but I think on the whole we've had some pretty incredible games that have come out, and Nintendo in particular have been going pretty strong this year. Some of my highlights from Nintendo's releases this year are finally playing Metroid Prime with the remaster, and of course The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. But as good as they are, you know what all of the games released this year have in common? Downtime. In fact, a lot of games have a ton of downtime these days, and one of my biggest problems with Final Fantasy XVI earlier in the year was just the amount of dialogue and the amount of time you spent doing what felt like inconsequential quests. And look, I get it, downtime can be really important, especially for story-driven games. But I don't know about you, but sometimes I just want to pick up a controller and know that every single minute I'm about to play is going to be just fun. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is that game. In fact, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is what happens when you give a great development team just time. Time to sit down and come up with some amazing ideas over and over again, and then just refine them down until you've packed as much joy as possible into one game. So, this is the first 2D Mario game in just about over a decade, and while I don't think that the new 2D Mario games were hated by any means, I think it's fair to say that the series needed a bit of a breath of fresh air and, just to have a bit of a shake-up of the ideas. And I think that Mario Wonder does that really well. So just to very quickly talk about spoilers, because I went back and forth on how much I wanted to show in this video, I am now about halfway through, I think, the game, not including special worlds. But I've decided I'm only going to show recorded gameplay from the very first world, Pipe Rock Plateau. I will allude to things that happen later and sort of talk about them, but not in too much detail so it doesn't spoil things. This way I'm hoping that I can talk about enough of the game that you can decide if it's for you, but at the same time I'm not just going to be ruining what it is that's about to come, because I think part of the joy of this game is the unexpected. A lot of the time it surprises you, and I think that by taking that away, I would kind of ruin the experience of discovering things for the first time yourself. And with that said, here we go! So the premise of this game doesn't really change too much compared to other 2D Mario games. You are chasing Bowser once again, although I will say this time he hasn't kidnapped Princess Peach, which it does make a change, but on the whole that's about as much plot as you're getting, but really who needs plot in a 2D Mario game? Now I've not played too many of the much older 2D Mario games, but I have played a couple here and there, some of the more modern ones. I played a couple on the 2DS, and of course I've played 3D Land and 3D World and Bowser's Fury, and of course Mario Odyssey. So while I've not played a lot of the very older games, I think I've played enough Mario games that I can confidently say that to me this feels like the most creative of those recent Mario releases, and there are quite a lot of new additions that make it feel that way. I'm going to talk about the new power-ups first. So far I've played with two of these, the Elephant Fruit and the Bubble Flower. I do quite like both of these, but they don't feel like they completely change the game up. They're more like complementary additions that they kind of feel like they slot right into the lineup of Mario power-ups, and I think they do work really well in that sense. Elephant Mario can use his trunk to both hit enemies and break bricks, and if you ever walk through water, then he stores up some water in his trunk and you can sort of spray this around. And I quite like this because if you spray the water on the ground, then sometimes these flowers will pop up and give you coins, and I just think that's a nice little touch. The Bubble Flower feels a bit more defensive on the other hand. You shoot out a bubble and it can catch things, and that's especially saved me sometimes when there's been a projectile heading towards me and I've sort of panic shot a bubble and it's caught it, and so you don't get hit. So yeah, the bubble has saved me a couple of times without me really meaning to. You can also bounce on those bubbles, but I've not really done that too much yet. I've not found a huge use for that at the moment. There is a third new power-up, but I don't seem to have reached that yet, and I don't really know how heavily it was featured in the trailers, so I'm not going to say anything about it just in case it spoils it for you. Now, one of the ways that you can tell a lot of work has gone into this game is that there's a ton of new animations. Each of these power-ups seems to have new animations. Things like transformations look different now, and if you're entering a pipe from the side, there's a cool little animation where Mario runs in and his hat falls off and then his hand pops back out and grabs it. And similarly, if you're going into a vertical pipe, he sort of jumps up in the air and then lands down on the pipe. A lot of stuff like that has been changed, and I think for the better. Mario feels a bit more fluid. It looks like he moves a bit more, not realistically, but less wooden, I suppose. It feels like a lot of attention has been paid to these small details in the animations, and overall I think it just gives this game quite a lot of charm. A second new feature in Super Mario Bros. Wonder is the badge system, and now when I did see this I was excited, but I was like maybe a little bit worried about the implementation and how they were going to do it. But actually that was needless, and actually I really like how the badges work in this game. You start to unlock them pretty much straight away, and you pick one and they have various different effects. Sometimes they replace things that you do, sometimes they give you additional things that you do. So for example, the first badge, it replaces your spin in the air when you press the LRR button. It replaces that with a gliding mechanic, where Mario grabs onto his hat and glides that way. You can get one that gives you a boost when you're swimming through water. You can get one that makes Mario bounce all the time. There's so much variety in these, the list goes on. I don't think I've even collected half of them so far, and I'm having quite a lot of fun seeing what's coming next, which ones I can use, trying to swap between them to just see which one I enjoy using the most. It feels like it adds another layer to the game, both in terms of choice and also in terms of maybe a little bit of skill as well. I can see these having a big impact on people who are wanting to try and race through the levels as fast as possible, or people who just want to pick a badge that either makes it harder for them or makes it easier, makes it so they look like they can pull off all these cool tricks. What I kind of think is the main new feature though in Super Mario Bros. Wonder are the Wonder Flowers. There seems to be one of these in each level, and when you come across it, you grab it, it does something really unexpected to the world, but it is always super fun. Pipes might start moving and you have to sort of jump between them, or in one level bubbles start appearing everywhere and you have to float up to the top bouncing on these bubbles, or in one there's a lightning storm that you have to navigate. I won't say any more because I really think that what happens when you find these Wonder Flowers is part of the fun of the game. It's always really surprising, it's always really fun, it's always really different to what you would expect to happen in a Mario game, and I really like this new feature. And so I think all of these new ideas really tie into what for me is Super Mario Bros. Wonder's greatest strength, and that is variety. Now, don't misunderstand me, I don't mean to say that none of the previous Mario games at all had like any variety whatsoever, but I just feel like this game just sort of steps it up to another whole new level. Every single stage feels different, and it's not even like they take the first world to sort of settle you in with usual Mario levels and then go off crazy from there. No, it basically starts straight away. Sure, the first level might originally seem like it's a little bit ordinary until you grab that Wonder Seed, and then like I mentioned before, all of a sudden everything changes. That's the one where the pipes start moving, they start crawling all over the place, you have to jump between them. The fun just starts basically straight away. And then the second level, piranha plants start singing at you. Like the whole level is based around music, and these piranha plants are all over the place singing along the tune to you. The creativity is there from the get-go. The game is just so full of unique ideas. Sometimes you'll be swimming up through rainstorms, sometimes you'll be bouncing on these giant rolling hippos, and this game even has entirely new types of levels that are sort of different to a standard Mario level. In addition to the normal ones, you get things like badge challenges that teach you how to use different types of badges, you get races, you get small levels that take like 30 seconds to complete, you get puzzle levels as well. Now, each of these has a difficulty rating that you can see on the world map, and while most of them are fairly easy, every now and then you will come across one with like 4 or 5 stars of difficulty rating, and those are genuinely quite hard levels, but they're also some of the most fun that I've had in the game. The very first one that you come across is called Bull Rush Express, and basically you have to stay on top of them as they race across the level, and it's genuinely quite hard, and it actually did take me, I think, maybe 4 or 5 attempts to do it the first time. But when I did finally manage to beat it, it felt great. So, taking all of this stuff into account, this is why I said at the start of the video that I think Super Mario Bros. Wonder is basically a game with no downtime at all. It's a game where you pick up the controller, turn it on, and you know that for however long you're gonna play this game, you're just gonna constantly be having fun. The game is always surprising you, and you're just excited to see what's coming next, you know, what new ideas the developers have had, what the next level is gonna be. And you never really feel like you're doing the same thing over and over, which is a problem that I found with a fair number of releases recently. Games like Starfield, for example, Starfield is great, but you do kind of feel sometimes like you've seen all that the game has to offer after so long, but I kind of feel like Super Mario Bros. Wonder is going to be one of those games where even up until like the very last world, it's going to be constantly surprising you with new ideas, and I'm always going to want to see what it is that's coming next. It's not often these days that I sort of get that one more run feeling, but with this game, the levels are short enough, they're so creative, they're very Moorish. I do kind of find myself thinking, okay, I'm going to stop at this time because I need to do something else, and then I'll get to a time and I'll be like, okay, one more level, and then I'll finish that. I'll be, just just one more level. I have found myself doing that a few times, whereas I haven't done that for a long time before now. Just a few other things I wanted to mention. The first one I feel like I say about pretty much all Nintendo games, but in particular I say this about Mario games. I think the music is really good in this game. It's just so fun and bouncy, and it really complements the levels as well. The music sort of changes per level and it works really well. Graphics wise, the game looks absolutely gorgeous. It doesn't matter if you're playing on an OLED Switch or on an old Switch or on the TV. Even blown up on a 4K TV, the game still looks really good. It's not pixely or anything like that. And it's so colorful as well that it's just a joy to look at. And the multiplayer aspect I think is very good too. It doesn't really get in your way, and you can turn it on or off if you don't like it. But I think it's just fun to see other players attempting the same level that you're attempting. And of course it is handy occasionally if you make a silly mistake and you fall off a ledge, that there is a way you can sort of get a revive if you need it. Just a small warning about the multiplayer though, sometimes I've been stuck on a puzzle level and I have noticed, you know, the other players that are attempting the level at the same time go to certain places, and sort of by watching them it's giving me the solution to the puzzle. So just a small warning, if you don't want to have that kind of thing, then maybe you want to turn the multiplayer off. So just to sum up, in case you haven't really gotten it by now, I absolutely love Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It's a complete delight to play, and I think that anybody who is even the tiniest bit tempted should pick it up, because I think they're going to have a really good time. There have been a lot of great games this year, but I think this one is up there with the best of them for sure. But how about you? Have you been playing this game? If so, how are you finding it? Are you enjoying it as much as me, or do you think it's too much of a change from the old Mario games? Let us know down in the comments. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.